Good morning. Hello, good morning, and welcome to Tea Time. I am your host, Stacey Hines, your Balance Lady Boss. And yes, I'm happy to be here again for another epic conversation. Good morning. This morning, we are going to continue our process of readying ourselves for 2024. So make sure you grab your tea or coffee or hot chocolate or whatever it is that's turning you on right now and get ready for our conversation. I'm looking forward to today's discussion because while it is a conversation about preparing for 2024, it's actually leaning into more of how you're going to do things probably a little bit differently than how you usually approach the new year. As you know, every year for the last 4 years, I host a masterclass on January 2nd called Intention Day. And the whole idea behind Intention Day is for us to set goals and to go through visioning and to do whatever it is that we do to prepare ourselves for a successful year. And it's a game changing experience because most of us, we actually don't do planning and goal setting. We talk about the things we want and we talk about how, this year got bad and all the different things that we're going to achieve, but we don't actually set anything in stone. We don't put anything down on paper. We don't take that action, that next step action that is meant to help us to clarify what we're really about, help us to lean into the different things that we really think we want and what it means for who we are going to be in the year. So on January 2nd this year, again, I'll definitely be doing the masterclass. But leading up to that, I was like, well, I have two tea time sessions before that. I'd like to use these sessions as a way to prepare your minds for welcoming this new year and not for doing it in a way that's inauthentic. We spend so much of our times just kind of scrolling through social media and looking at what everybody else is doing and not really paying attention to what we are not committing to for ourselves. Oh, I left my intention cards. 1 minute. Okay, had to get the cards. So grab your tea, and we're going to kick things off by the topic, getting set to the topic. So I want to talk about this context of be, do, have. So in the coaching world, there is a lot of talk about you can be, do, and have anything you want, right? And many persons will lean into that. They'll lean into the thinking that, yeah, I can be, do, and have anything I want. And all I got to do is say it, or all I got to do is write it down. All I have to do is put up a vision board. But the truth is that it's much more than that. And it takes quite a bit of intentionality and requires you to be taking steps just about every single day. Or if you can't commit to every single day because maybe this is something new for you, then it is as best as you can, right? Now, I wanted to lean into that discussion of the being and the doing and the having because for a long time I was like, yeah, I want be and do and have anything I want. That was my whole MO. But how many of you know that you can say a thing and you can plan a thing, but you don't necessarily get to where you thought you were going to get to, or when you get to that outcome, it's not the way that you thought it was going to be. So I want to attack each of the different buckets separately, and I'm inviting you to join me on that discovery conversation this morning. So I'm having ginger tea this morning with my honey, one of my favorite honeys. As you can see, it's literally pretty much done. This is monofloral manuka honey. It's like $40 a bottle, I think, for this one. Actually, the shorter bottle, but I think it's the same amount It's usually about $40, and it is exceptional, honey. So I really like to have it with my ginger and with my lemon. So that's what I'm doing this morning. And of course, we're going to pull an intention card as we get further in the conversation. So just settle in, take a moment, kick back, and know that it is the eve of Christmas Eve, and you maybe have way more shopping to do. But just take this moment for yourself to just chill, right? To just chill and be with your thoughts. All right. So we're going to start off with how to be more, right? So we're thinking about being more, you know, immediately you're like, I have to be better. Sometimes it's not so much thinking about the being better part of yourselves. I think we're all on a path of self improvement and of self discovery. We're all on this path of wanting to create an exceptional life for ourselves or for our children, whatever that may look like for you. But I want to invite you into the possibility that being more isn't necessarily about changing who you are. It's about embracing your authentic self and letting that authenticity shine brighter. Now, one of the things that I think has been happening is we've become a little bit jaded by this authenticity word because, and I mean, social media clearly has a lot to do with that, right? Um, but when you step away from the external context and how everybody said them real, but them not really real, and you can't trust who is saying who because on social media them look like one thing, but them life popping down, whatever the context, right? If you take away all of that and really just focus on you, what being more means, especially in a year like 2024, is connecting deeply with your values, your passions, and your strengths. And for some of us, we don't even know what our values are. We haven't spent the time to think about, well, what do I value in life? What is important to me? And how can I be more connected to that? How can I lean into what I value? Well, let me help you there. Your values are the things that are like guiding principles. If you find, for example, that you really get upset with yourself and the rest of the world if you end up late for work, okay? Say you end up late for work and you just find that messes up your day, your headspace just mash up, and no matter what you're doing, you can't get back into it. That means you have a value of committing to your time. So you value your time commitment. You value the way that you relate to agreeing to be in a certain place or to show up on time. That's a value alignment. Let's say, for example, you get upset or you have a reaction when somebody owes you money and they don't pay you back, or if you're in debt or you can't pay a bill and you start to feel guilt and shame inside, which is real, right? That's real. You start feel guilt and shame inside because you can't pay a bill or you can't buy something for your child, but something related to that financial well-being space. That means you have a value of being fiscally responsible. You value being able to use money in a way that feels good, that feels wise. And so that's why you're feeling triggered if you're not able to honor that. Or maybe you have a high value to commitments you've made with other persons or agreements you've made with other persons. And so when you are not able to meet those commitments or agreements, you start to feel this downward spiral inside. You start to feel that shame and you don't know how to navigate it. This is one of the areas that being more for me, like I spent a lot of time working on that area in 2022 and in 2023. How that looked for me is if I owe somebody some money, for instance, like I owe money, good morning, Miss Denise, I owe money, I have not paid when I said I was going to pay. I have now stepped into, okay, I'm going to write a note to this person. I am going to let them know what is happening with the current agreement and set a new agreement. I remember when I used to live in my first home, right? When I first bought my first house, I was young. Um, I had, I think I was just, yeah, I had two children at the time already. My second child was a baby, and I had, I think Jelani was maybe 4 or 5, 3, 6, something like that. And so I had a baby and a toddler, and I was married in over our heads by this big house, right? And this was me wanting to be more and to have more, right? So the having of the more was looking at the big house, 5 bedroom house on a lake. Yes, niceness, beautiful. And so I thought that having this more would make me more, because all of my friends had houses and they were all, everybody was doing the American dream thing. They had their kids and they were settling into the whole thing, right? So I figured, okay, yeah, was not prepared for all the bills that came along with it. And in the States, they mail you so much. You get so much paper. You open your mailbox and it's all these papers. So you would literally have on your countertop a stack of bills. You know what I'm talking about for my US and my Canadian followers, right? You have these stacks and stacks of bills on your tabletop in the house. And I remember feeling so much shame for seeing these bills just stack up one after the other. And I would stop opening them because I just didn't have the money. And I didn't know where the money was going to come from. I was a new mother. We were a new couple. We're in this big house. You have to buy furniture. We barely have any furniture. And it's like all of this stuff piling up around felt so daunting and so heavy. And so when the bill collectors start to call, I am not only not opening the bills, but I am now not answering the phone. Like complete avoidance. It's like the more that I was trying to become, right? It's that person that I was becoming wasn't my authentic self. Because what started to happen now is I was feeling so much guilt and shame about not paying the bills. And then when they call in, not answering the calls, I was literally feeling overwhelmed and settling into depression and sadness over not being able to meet this commitment. So, what that meant for me was that I was not honoring my value of being fiscally responsible, feeling like, I was on top of my life, adulting. I wanted to feel like I was adulting well. And I did not feel like that. All I felt all day long, I go to work, I'm working, and, I can pay the basics, right? Sometimes the light bill would go behind or the water bill would go behind. And we were doing everything we could do to scrape things together so that I could have more, or so that we could have more, you know? So I was not accepting myself for who I was in that moment. I was not accepting that this is where I am. This is what I can afford. And sure, I can aspire for more. There's nothing wrong with that. But this is where you are now. So you need to open the bills. You need to face those numbers, face the bills, because if you're not facing it, then you can't fix it. So my values were out of alignment, and because my values were out of alignment, I was carrying a lot of guilt and shame about that. There was no self acceptance, definitely no self love, because all I could hear were the voices in my head telling me how I'm gonna get myself in problems and how I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do. You know what I'm talking about, right? So as you're getting ready for 2024, I am suggesting that you do set an intention to be more. But when you're doing that setting of, I want to be more, ask yourself, what are the qualities that you admire most about yourself? Literally say, what do I admire most about myself? How can I nurture this in 2024? How can I nurture this every day? Because being more, becoming more, requires you to begin within yourself. It's not looking around and seeing what everybody else is being and then deciding you want to be that. It starts inside first. You can always have mentors and, you can admire people, nothing wrong with that. But being more starts within yourself. It starts with your passions. It starts with your strengths. If you know that you are not strong at paying bills on time or showing up on time, then what are you strong at that can help you to do those things? Don't run into 2024 saying, yes, I'm going to pay all my bills on time, and then you just go out and buy something new when you still haven't mastered that skill that you need, right? Don't set up yourself for failure. Lean into being more, meaning that you are leaning more into what works for you. All right? So if you're becoming more of something, then you have to get into the habit of that person before you even arrive there. You can't become something without the practice of that becoming. If you want to be this multimillionaire that is able to pay everything up front, all in one go, and you just seeing the money streaming in, and that's a big deal for you. If you're not there today, then you have to start putting those practices in place today so that you can get there. Right? So that's how to be more. Now let's talk about the doing part. How to do more. So I know for some of you, you're thinking, oh God, Stacey, I'm trying to do less. Like I'm doing way too many things. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. Well, in order for you to do more of one thing, then you have to do less of something else. So if right now you feel like you're working too hard or you're packing your schedules with endless tasks, right? Then the doing more is actually about focusing on what matters most. So it's being intentional about doing what is going to allow you to do less of the things that you're not enjoying. I was recently in a planning class because I'm doing all the planning for 2024 right now. That's literally all I do with my last couple of weeks of December going into January. Like I spend 3 weeks just thinking about how I want my year to be and how I'm going to be successful and all the things that, y'all be talking about, right? So as I was in this one class, and one of the prompting questions that they asked us was, when you're thinking about what you're focusing on for 2024 in your business, because this was focused on my business, they were like, how are you going to make more money and do less of the things that you're doing right now? And I thought to myself, how am I gonna make more, have more, but do less? And so then it occurred to me that every single time I would think about making more money or having more of something, more vacation or more whatever else, I wasn't decreasing any of the other stuff. So I have to now flip that, which is what I'm inviting you to do as you think about how to do more in 2024. I'm inviting you to think about, how do I do more sleeping or do more vacation or do more time with my family? Like the things that you want to do more of, that's where you want to think about it. How do I do more of that? How do I do more resting? How do I do more nothing? Like for real, the art of doing nothing is a thing. Okay. How do I do more nothing? How do I do less of the things I want to do in order to achieve more of what I want? So it's really about cultivating habits that make you more efficient so that you're achieving more results with less effort. This is when you're thinking, prioritizing stuff. Don't just tumble into the new year. I'm being serious, guys. Don't just roll into the new year and start doing exactly what you're doing in 2023, in 2024, and then piling on new things because you want to achieve more things. No, do more of what you want and start dialing back on the things that you don't want. If you are looking for more sleep, don't think you need to rack up on the number of hours you have so you can take more time off. No, start with increasing the amount of sleep that you get and putting the rest of your life in order to support that thing that you're leaning into. Embrace prioritization. Like we don't prioritize. What is that? Why don't we prioritize what's important? Ask yourself, what are the key things that are going to move me closer to the life that I want? How can I make these key things non negotiable? Like, how can I make sure that I'm not compromising on the things that I really want? I'm not putting the things that I say that I want more of, that I say that I want to do, I'm not making those secondary to the things I think I have to do. How can I make these things a part of my daily routine? So, this is how you're going to do more in 2024. You're going to do more by prioritizing the things that you want to do more of. Don't think about them as, oh, I have to do, don't start thinking about doing less of the thing that you don't. Think about what you need to do more of first. What you focus on expands. So I want more sleep. I keep talking about sleep because I know that for all of us out here, we're just doing too many things and we're not getting enough rest. Okay, last one. How do I have more? And I want to first of all remove the stigma that having more in the face of things is a bad thing, because we are getting into this space where if you're being spiritual, then you can't have stuff. Okay, I don't believe that. I believe that you can have things and also have more joy and contentment on the inside. I know a lot of wealthy people, and a few of those wealthy people have a lot of things and they're not happy. They don't have that peace and contentment inside. So, what I will say is that while there isn't anything wrong with aspiring to having those new things or more things, like you want the bigger house or the more that, there's nothing wrong with aspiring for that, but that doesn't get your complete focus. It's not about that. It's about appreciating and maximizing what you have with gratitude. We've talked about gratitude a lot in Tea Time and also on my podcast. And the reason why you want to be grateful is because gratitude opens you up for more. If you're complaining about what you don't have now, I don't have enough love, I don't have a big enough house, I don't have a big enough closet, I don't have enough kitchen things, I don't have, if that's all you focus on, then you're just going to perpetuate that situation. And so, what becomes more and more important is for you to step into first appreciating and maximizing what you have so that you can sit in gratitude, you can sit in presence, and you can find the richness in the current experience because you actually created this current experience. Nobody stepped into your life and said, oh, I'm going to create this experience for you. No, the experience that you're having, the life that you're experiencing now, the things that you have now are all things that you have created, right? This is your space. And so, because you have created this experience, you want to find the richness in what you already have. The place that you live now, you chose it. And I know some of you might be watching and saying, well, it's because of the money and the this and the that. Okay, but it was still a choice. And you chose it for some reason. Something about the place that you live now lit you up. So it's fine to want a nicer home or a bigger home. And at the same time, how do you find richness in what you have currently? I'll give you an example. I have some pieces of furniture that I've had for far too long, in my opinion, right? And they have come from my previous lives. I've moved a lot and I have pieces of furniture that have come with me from my previous life. And I'm in a space now where I want more. I want more furniture that reflects who I'm becoming now. That doesn't mean that I'm not going to appreciate the lovely table or the lovely ottoman or the lovely whatever it is that I created so many memories around. So that's what I mean. Accumulating things, I'm not knocking that because I like things. Symmetry, I like things. Okay? There's nothing wrong with that. It's when you start to prioritize the having of the things over who you're being, that authentic self, you're getting it because someone else will have it, right? So you feel like that's going to make you more, that's going to bring your muchier into action because somebody else has it, so now you do, right? When you start to skew the having more to be aligned with what everybody else is doing or what everybody else's stuff looks like, that's when you get into the distractions and you start avoiding the commitments that you have because you're not leaning into that real self. Sometimes we buy things that we don't really even need. We just see it and we say, well, I like it, so I'm going to get it. It doesn't align with anything you want in your life, but you just have to have it. When you start to get into those habits, you're really not feeling into who you are and trusting the joy and fulfillment that you're getting from life. Now, if you feel good buying the 100th pair of shoes like me, then that's different. If you love shoes and shoes make you feel high energy and it's great, then fine. But if you know that you're buying something that is not authentically aligned with who you are, you're just doing it just because, or you're in this habit that is not sustainable, then you want to start asking yourself those meaningful questions. So as you're heading into 2024 and you're thinking about how do I have more? First question to ask, what aspects of my life do I feel most grateful for? What do I feel most grateful for in this moment? As I'm moving into the new year, what are the things in my life I feel more? What do I have now that I feel very grateful for? And then the next question to ask is, how can I focus more energy on the things that make me feel good to enrich my life even more in 2024? Yeah? So you want to identify something in your life that you maybe have overlooked or taken for granted. Yeah? Maybe you've not been paying attention to the juice and the joy that you have in your space. And you want to now ask yourself, how can I lean into and have more appreciation in 2024 to enrich my life experience? So I want us to think about 2024 in the way that this card kind of expresses it. This card is one of my favorites. I don't pull it very often, it tends to get lost in the deck. But the intention on this card is I am unfathomable. And the affirmation says, I create my own opportunities and I lean into the courage to fulfill the desires of my heart. I love that. So when I think about how to be more, do more, and have more in 2024, I am committing to a year of profound growth, a year of intentional action, and a year of heartfelt gratitude. I'm committing to leaning into my true self and trusting that the things that are coming up as things that I want, that I'm going to actually write these things down. I'm going to spend the time, not just have the stuff in my head, but I'm going to be intentional about how I'm moving towards the being more and the having more and the doing more. I'm going to lean into that. And you notice that it doesn't start with have more. It starts with be more. So it's be, do, have. And it has to start with being, because if you don't lean into that self talk, if you don't lean into your thoughts and how you are thinking about your opportunities, notice it says, I create my own opportunities. If you're not sitting down and doing this work, guys, how do you even know what those opportunities are? How do you know what you actually want for yourself? You know it in your head, but it's far more powerful when you take it out of your head and you put it down on paper and you can actually see the practicality of the thing. You can start to say, boy, okay, well, where I am today, I'm in a small apartment. I'm in a one-bedroom apartment and I want to move towards having this villa or this house. And so you're not going to just run out and start looking at houses. No, you're going to be in appreciation for what you have now. What do I love about my space now? What are the things that I would want to make sure that I am recreating in this new home? You're opening yourself up with gratitude. Once you've done that, then you're now tapping into that unique part of yourself that can create this new home opportunity that you want. That's the place that you come from when you are sketching out, what do I want to have more of in my life? So I'm encouraging you to join me on January 2nd for Intention Day. It's in the middle of the day because some persons have gone right back to work. So it starts at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time, and we go for 2 hours. And I'm going to break it out in segments, right? Breaking it out in segments. I'm going to be talking about love. I'm going to be talking about career. I'm going to be talking about money. And I'm going to be talking about your physical well being. And I'm going to be helping you to set a vision for yourself with intention for how you're going to show up in 2024. We're going to do some intention setting. We're going to do some goal setting, and goal setting that you can use over and over again. All right. So that's January 2nd, guys. Now, if you come back next week, Saturday, I will be talking about getting prepared for that session. You're going to have a workbook that you can use, and all the different tools. And I also have some giveaways. I'm going to be giving away some cards and journals, right? And intention candles so that you can set up yourself for the new year proper. Okay, so that's January 2nd from 12 to 2 o'clock. And I'm going to be right here on Instagram and on YouTube, which is where I do my tea time. I'm going to be right here talking with you about being intentional about the year ahead. I'm going to make sure you're asking yourself those tough questions. You need to be asking yourself questions about what you're leaving behind and what you're not carrying. What are you afraid of? We're going to be digging deep, guys. And I am trusting that because we're going to be doing this together, like I'm setting my goals, coming prepared, right, with my goals already done. But we're going to be working on this together through the month of January, even after the masterclass is done. So I look forward to seeing you on January 2nd. And I'm going to be putting out things on my social media page as well as we draw closer to that time. Thank you so much for joining us today on another tea time. I hope you enjoyed your tea. I hope you enjoyed your intention card. I am unfathomable, right? And I hope to see you next week, Saturday at 9 a.m. for another tea time with the Balanced Lady Boss. Take care, guys. I'll see you next week.